How you doing, everyone? I'm literally recording this maybe 20 minutes after the game is over. Welcome to another Jags React with Zunker here. Jags pull out a win in Houston. Massive victory, making up for the loss earlier this season after Matt Amendola's field goal comes up just short, hitting the crossbar. What a win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Trevor Lawrence in this game looked like a franchise QB, going 23 for 38 for 364, a TD, had hit multiple downfield throws. It seemed like they opened the offense up in this game more than I've seen in a while, at least in the passing game. And it really, really helped. Maybe some of that's Houston's defense being a problem. If you want to say that, you might be right. But this was massive for the Jaguars. A huge win to get over Houston there. And we'll talk about the ramifications of that in a bit. But first, let me just talk about some stats here. Josh Allen had 2.5 sacks this game, and in that last drive, I kept saying, I said it out loud too. I wasn't just saying it to myself. So I'm sorry, neighbors, but Josh Allen has to come up big. You want to be a $25 million a year edge rusher? This is your time to shine. This is the time to pull out all the stops. And on the final drive, he got 2 sacks basically. It counts as the second half, but he had 2 massive sacks. I find it interesting that Houston did what they did with the final field goal on 4th and 12. I guess it was 4th and 12. But Matt Amendola has never hit a 50-yarder in his career. He missed one earlier in this game. Even if he does have leg, and he almost proved he did, but I just I'm not gonna harp on too much because what do you do in that situation? That's no man's land, right? CJ Stroud's awesome. He played really well in this game. So good with his legs. And I can hear my fellow Buckeye fans like, why did we not see this more of the running game when he was at Ohio State? He didn't need to. He needs to in the NFL. He's proven that all the talk about him not being a runner is untrue. He was the leading rusher almost in the entire game. He had 6 carries for 47 yards and a TD. He's amazing. But back to Jacksonville. Massive victory here. Going off their stats here, they had 445 total yards to 352. Their third down efficiency was really good in this game, and it seems like it's been getting better over the weeks. And they went 7 for 13 today, and I know they hit on at least 3 third and 8 or longers, which was the exact same amount they hit all season. So today felt like a lot of what we expected the Jacksonville Jaguars offense to be, minus the run game, and we'll talk about that. But this win also makes the Jaguars 5-0 on the road this year. Who thought the Jaguars would ever be 5-0 on the road? Bumping their winning streak away from Jacksonville to 10, I think. Either way, it's massive. Trevor did not get sacked once in this game. He did throw a pick, which was, let's get that out of the way now. And I'm going to say right now, both teams suffered from it. By the way, sorry, I am still fighting cold, and I do apologize if I sound a little weird, if I'm rubbing my nose a lot. But the referees were awful this game. and it just seemed like it got worse as the game progressed. And Houston has some gripes, but I think Jags have some gripes too. But nonetheless, pretty clean game by both teams. I will say, on a whole, I feel like Houston seemed like they played slightly better, slightly less mistakes. Jags, or maybe it's just because they have the back-breaking mistakes that the Jags could have easily lost in this game. They had some monstrous mistakes in this game. And let's talk about what I thought was potentially going to be the game changer, the double dip scenario that the Jags had at the end of the half where they got the ball. Christian Kirk makes a hell of a play to almost score a touchdown. And we decide to go for it on with 1 second left from the 1 yard line, which, for the record, I'm okay with that. I think that's the right call in a game like this. You need touchdowns, and the Jags only scored 2 in this game. There was a bunch. They made 3 field goals. So there's still that factor, but man. That play call on that one play was fucking awful. What are you doing there? Like, why did you think you were going to catch him up? No. I get it, you can't run the ball. If you don't feel like you can get that yard, you kick a field goal. That's what you do there. If you don't feel like you can get that, which, by the way, why didn't you just have Trevor do what he did the previous touchdown drive where he just used his big ass frame to put the ball over the damn goal line. He's done that a few times in his career. Do it. Simple. Don't overthink this. We do that in some critical situations. I saw a few times in this game where we just made some unbelievably stupid decision making in this game. But yeah, otherwise Trevor Lawrence played great. He had a rushing touchdown, as I said, along with his touchdown, the interception. That was a hold on that all day. And that, again, the refs were terrible in this game, so I'm not going to badger that. But yeah, the Jags definitely made some potentially game critical errors in this game, and fortunately it worked out in our favor because I feel like Houston didn't make as big of those mistakes. But I did feel like Houston bogged down a bit in the second half. It just seemed like they couldn't get the. I don't know. It was weird because I thought Houston played well, but they had two missed field goals in the game. And then they just had some interesting plays. The Jaguars having the illegal formation, I thought that was big, and then leading to a missed field goal. There was 3 total missed field goals in this game, all over 50 yards. And then the Texans scoring immediately right after that on only 5 plays. And then Jags only getting 2 minutes and 14 seconds off the clock after that. And then the last drive for Houston that ended up missing on the 58-yard field goal attempt. So, a huge victory for Jags. There's things I don't like, obviously. And let's talk about one thing that's, I think, I don't know. I know football, but I don't know football. I don't know the intricacies of plays and designs. I'm sure I could. Sure, I know some of that stuff, but not anything crazy. Not NFL level or even minor college level, or not probably high school level, for being honest. But our play design for runs is absolutely atrocious. And it seemed like way too often, somebody's just free at the running back, almost at the handoff. And that's a bit of an exaggeration. Not long afterward, in the backfield. And just Etienne has no room. He's got to make someone miss way too often. He ended up having 20 carries for 56 yards in this game for a 2.8 average, and he had a 20-yard run. So he had his other 19 carries went for 36 yards. Under 2 a carry. Under 2 a carry. If you think it's him, Ernest Johnson had 7 carries for 19 yards in this game for 2.7 yards. And we had 30 rushes as a whole for 81 yards. What the hell's going on? Now, neither team could really run the ball outside C.J. Stroud. The Houston, I think there's one thing I will say about Houston. I think they abandoned their run game a little too much in this game. Devin Singletary, Damian Pierce only combined for 11 carries for 32 yards. That's not going to do it. Under 3 yards per carry. But obviously Stroud's a really, really good thrower of the football. And, they came close to winning this game. But this game is huge for the Jags. Let's talk about implications now here because the implications here are massive. It's big in the sense for the standings, obviously. I think that's a no shit. We won this game, but so what does this do? This gives the Jags a 4-1 record and puts Houston down to 1-2. So they split the series. So that means that Houston cannot overtake them in the divisional standpoint, and it also gives the Houston Texans a 3rd conference loss. Now Jags are 6-2 in conference. Houston's 3-3. So Jags have played more games in conference. So it's pretty massive. So it means that the Jags cannot be overtaken in a divisional tiebreaker. Obviously, in the conference is a possibility. But also for Houston, this is big because now that puts, with the Indianapolis win, that puts them below Indianapolis. That puts them in 3rd in the division. Indianapolis still somehow winning football games. Nobody knows how. 6-5, and the Jags do have the season series sweep against them, so they don't have to worry about that. But obviously, a win here puts the Jags again 2 ahead with some tough games coming up. Massive victory for the Jags. They're 8-3. They're 1 game away from securing their first set of back-to-back winning seasons since the 90s. There might have been, I think since 04 or 05. Realistically, I think we went 9-7 in 04 and then went 12-4 in 05. So this is big. That also keeps them pace for the number 1 seed in the AFC with 3 losses, tied with 3 other teams: Baltimore, Miami, Kansas City. Kansas City plays later, I don't think, and Baltimore plays tonight. So massive game here. But yeah, no, Jags the only unbeaten team on the road this season, and as a matter of fact, they're one of only 4 total teams with 1 loss or less on the road. Baltimore's 4-1 on the road. Kansas City's 3-1 on the road, and the Eagles are 5-1 on the road with a weird loss against the Jets. Oh, the Lions are 4-1. So okay, I missed a couple, but still, big plays for the Jags in this game. Big win. This felt like I had to win. Houston was on their heels and they're nipping, and Jags aren't used to being the hunter. This is the franchise that hasn't been good for a while. And to be fair, probably Houston isn't really either. Although they've had their history's probably better in the last 20 years than the Jags are. Let's be realistic. They made the playoffs more. They had a stretch where they were one of the better teams in the league under the Matt Schaub era and Deshaun Watson. They were a solid football team before he had his weirdness. But no, this is big, folks. We're at 11 games. There's 6 left, and we have a 2-game lead. And it doesn't get easy. We have a Monday nighter next week against the Bengals, who were game today against the Steelers, but they're not the same without Joe Burrow. But nonetheless, you don't overlook them. This is still a team that went to 2 straight AFC title games. Yes, Burrow was a big part of that, but this is still a team that's going to be feisty. Then we travel to Cleveland in a game I'm going to, and what will be I'm sure, a slobber knocker of a game. It's tough to score against the Browns defense, no matter almost who you are. So that's gonna be big. And then we have the Ravens at home for a Sunday nighter in a massive AFC tilt that could have home field advantage implications potentially. It's weird talking about that for the Jags. I think most people count them out at this point, but they're still in it. And do I think they're a realistic Super Bowl contender? Probably not right now. I think they have some holes, but right now they're still in that running. And until they're not, you have to talk about it. And then the after the Ravens, they have the Buccaneers on the road, Carolina, and then they have a away game to end the season at Tennessee. A lot of winnable games there. All of them can be winnable. Obviously, you got the Ravens at home. That's your tough one. We've gotten out of the gauntlet of the schedule, man. It's just been a hard schedule up to this point, where only now the Saints are under and the Falcons are under. So only 3 of the 11 games have been against teams that are under 500. Everyone else is over 500. So, I mean, it's not been easy, folks. We haven't just ran with an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination. So it's been massive for the Jags to get to this point. We have currently outside of that Niners game, we have won 7 of 8. So the Niners game being the exception. And it's not a murderer's row team. We haven't beaten an elite team, I will give you, but every team that we face this year outside of the Titans are a playoff team potentially, or chasing the playoff spot. And the Titans won today, and I don't think they're a playoff team. But you never give up. You never ever overlook the Titans. But the Titans are the only team on this list that you're like, that's not really a playoff. That's not really a team that's really truly fighting for a playoff spot. Yes, the NFC South is bad, so you have a bunch of 5 and 6 teams and under 500 teams battling that out. So that's a bit skewed, but man, this is a big this division isn't as easy as we thought it would be. The schedule has been brutal, and the Jags are still winning football games, and that's what matters. That's what matters right now. Yes, I'm aware the Jags only have a plus 29 point differential, but they've been blown out twice. So if you're a point differential freak, you might be sitting looking at like, that's not that good, yeah. And I would come back and say, fair, but nonetheless, we're still there. The Jags are almost in the top 10 in scoring offense, but we have given and about middle of the pack for what we've given up. So nothing too crazy one way or the other. But we are winning games, and in this league, winning games is what's important ultimately. All right, that has been my reaction to the Jacksonville Jaguars pulling out a stunning victory over the Houston Texans. Big win for the Jags. On the Cincy. Until next time, deuces.